Right, hello everyone. So this is Wayne. I am just going to go over my Shapeman game. I've already done a introductory video on this, and this is a follow-up one. Hopefully I'm just going to go through all the elements that make this game up. So let me press play and show you what the game is first, so we're all on the same page. So the purpose of Shapeman is I control a shape. Now this is my circle here, and it changes to this here, so all the monsters have become circles, and if I move over them because I'm the same shape, they die and I get some score. Now can you see they become these triangles? Now if I touch them when I'm in that shape, oh, they've changed back to 1. That's not quite right. Something's wrong somewhere. I'll have to fix this out, but I'll go through the code in a minute with you, hopefully. Yeah, because I wasn't the same shape of them. You saw I exploded then, and I lost a life, and there's my sword going up. The purpose is to clear all these out, and then I move to the next level. My game is not perfect. It's a little bit buggy. I'm just going to change shape just to a spinning circle, just to show you the fact I change to a spinning triangle. I can change as well. Now they're going to be crosses in a second, and I should explode if I touch one of them. Yeah, I thought I did. Good. Anyway, that's the game. Not quite perfect, but there you are. So there's all my sprites that I've created. There's a list of them, and every single sprite I've made into an object. Now let me go through. I'll be going through the objects in a minute, and there's my room. Let's open my room up. So here is my room layout. Now I want to just point something out. As you can see in the room layout here, I've got all the little pills in there, but I haven't got the monsters, because the monsters get added later. I'm just going to add another pillar, just another pillar too, just because I can, and I like adding them just to sort of fill this top bit up. This is the sort of thing that you guys are going to be doing, hopefully better than I'm doing in this time that I've got. Anyway, so there's me adding it. These are the various shapes that I can change to. I start there, and I can change to all these different shapes. Now ideally I need a object C. I'm going to add it actually, object C, which is a circle that I can change into. So I'll put the circle there, so that means I can change into that circle, change into each of these. As I touch them, I'll change into them. So I'll finish this off now. So I move around the room, claim these pills. I want to fit. If I had time to show you, I'd floor this room with pills, and then I can change shape. And if you notice here, I've got two invisible objects, one called controller, that one there, and one called next image. Now next image is fairly easy to explain. Next image is the next image that the monster is going to be, so that's a random number between 1 to 5. There can either be a circle, a cross, a triangle, a square, or a pentagon. Basically each one of these shapes here, they can change, and they change randomly into it, but at least you get a heads up what it's going to be, because this here, that there, that controller displays my high score, displays not my high score, displays my current score and my lives, and when I get to no lives I obviously die. It's fairly straightforward, simple little game. So I'll just change. I added some pills, so I'm going to save that. So that's my room layout. Let's go through the objects. Now this is where it gets complicated. I've also got a setup script here. I think I'll go through the setup first before I go through the objects. So let's open this up. In here we are introducing some interesting things. Now, you know I said that when the room sets up, let's open the room up again, you don't see where all the monsters are. I said, oh well, they're all set up in an array in a setup script. This is the array, and this is the setup script here. So each of these here, what I'm highlighting, is an array where I'm defining the X and Y coordinates of all the different monsters. Now let me just explain it a little. Can you see that says monsters? So there's a variable I've created called monsters. It's set up there, and that monsters, I don't know what pills is. I don't actually use it. I think I was going to put the pills in an array. I didn't bother. I just added them manually. But anyway, So this array here called monsters is what's known as a two-dimensional array. It's got a 2-bit, so you've got a 0-bit, 0 element, a 1 element, a 2 element, 3, 4. Can you see that 0 has got a 0 and a 1 element? I mean, it's best to show you in a spreadsheet. Let me show you in a spreadsheet here. Let me find Office. Office. Where's my Office gone? Oh, Microsoft. Is it under Microsoft? Yeah, there it is. Excel. Right. So let me just show you in a spreadsheet here. So I've got a variable called monsters. Right. So spreadsheet here. We go 0, 1, 2, 3. What's it go to here? 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. I've got 8 monsters. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 monsters. Each monster, obviously, when you're locating a monster on a grid in a room, they have an X and Y coordinate. Now, as I move my mouse around, if you look in the bottom right, can you see I've got this X and this Y? And can you see the numbers change? So this represents the X and Y coordinate of where my mouse is on the screen. But where I want to position monsters on this screen, and I position them using this X and Y coordinate. So if I wanted to put a monster in 1, 3, 2, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 4, I would set it as that. But if you look at my script here, we'll just highlight it then. Monster Naught has got 2 bits. It's got 163 by 350. Let's have a look at 163. So X is 163. Move across 163. Find it. Where's 16 there? By what was it again? Sorry, I've forgotten. 350. 163. 163. 350. Which is up here somewhere. 350. Ah, yeah. There's a room up. It's up here. It's up here. It's around here somewhere, isn't it? So it's there when my mouse is there. There's a monster that appears just about there. And if I press play, I'll prove it. I'll show you where the monster starts up here. So that is monster naught there. It appears there. It bounces around there. Oops. Close this. Open the room again. So there you are. So monster naught has got a naught and a 1 bit. The naught is 163 and the 1 is 350. That one there is 70. See what I'm doing? And 5, 4, 4. These represents that one. You could literally say is X and you could say that's Y. It's basically, I'm just setting what the coordinates are of the 8 monsters, and that's what this is, the coordinates of the 8 monsters. I maybe not explain that at the very best. It's hard to get this across to you, but this is a 2-dimensional array that stores the X and Y coordinates of every single monster. The X is shown as a 0 and the Y is shown as a 1, and here is where it positioned them. So there I create the store for them all, and here in this what's known as a for loop. A for loop is a bit of coding where it goes through so many times, and it starts at I is 0, so it starts at 0 where I is set to 0, and it ends where I is less than or equal to 8. So it ends at 8. So it goes around this loop here 8 times. So it starts at 0 and then gets back in here and then increments it. I plus plus means increment I by 1. So then I becomes 1 and it goes round. So if you look here, so monsters I, and I starts at 0. So it goes monster 163. Remember that there is 163. So that's 163. So that's an X coordinate. 350 is a Y coordinate, and O enemy. Now what is O enemy? Object enemy. It's one of my objects called enemy. So it basically instant creates the coordinates of X and Y of that value and that value, or that value and that value, depending on what I is, the object enemy, and it puts them down. So all this script does is places 8 monsters in these X and Y coordinates. If I wanted a 9th, I go monster 9, and give it a new X and Y, and I'd increase that by 9, for example. That's how this bit works, the setup script. So let me see if I can find where the setup script is. I think it's here. See, remember I've got the controller. This displays the high score, displays the score, displays how many lives you got. But in controller, here, when it's created, well, the first time it runs, it executes the setup script. So in other words, it puts all the monsters down, does this once, and then it runs this script here, and this sets the global variables. Now I think I've explained these before in the last one. See if I can remember what I said. Basically, sprite 2 is what the enemy is going to become next. Sprite 2 is what they are now. Sorry, sprite next is what they're going to come next. I died is as a variable to say whether or not you're dead, and there's other ones as well, which I'll go through if I get a chance. My shape is the shape of you at the moment. My shape is 0. In other words, I'm a circle to begin with. And lives, it's very self-explanatory. It is how many lives you've got. So start with 3. So sprite 2, the enemy starts as a random sprite and it goes to a random sprite next. Random, it just says random number, integer random number. Integer remembers whole number between 0 and 4 there. 0 and 4 there. Move to false. Forget all this for now. I'll go back to this later. So this is the controller object I'm showing. Set with the score to 0, and we'll set clear the high score to changeable thing. So when it runs first time, it does that. So step. A step event happens every single tick of the game. So every single cycle of the game it runs. So step runs fairly quickly. Here we are. Now I'll just explain this to you. Quite an interesting bit of script here. So what I'm doing here is, if a random number, I put number here, I'll explain what that is in a minute, is greater than 50. Anyways, if this triggers, if this number is greater than that number, a number is defined, I think I created it. Yeah, there's number 100. It's a global variable. I've set it as 100. So there's a 50-50 chance here. Why am I saying 50? Well, 100 is twice as big as 50, so that's 50-50. It's, 100 divided by 50 is 2. So you got 1 in 2 chance. Anyway, so random 100. Basically it creates a random number between 1 and 100. So there's a 50% chance it will be greater than 50, or 50% chance it will be less than 50. I hope you can follow that. If not, study maths and get your GCSE grade C maths. So the 50% chance this is true. If that does, it reduces this countdown number. Now countdown is set here as 100. So basically it reduces the countdown. Now if the countdown goes below 1, in other words it gets to 0, then notice what happens. This triggers the enemy changing shape. So basically the enemies change shape, and it's like a slow countdown from 1 to 100, all depending on random numbers. So it's not like a timed 100, it's a erratic 100 because it's using random numbers. And what it does here, it goes sprite to is sprite next. In other words, set the sprite to as a sprite next, set sprite next to a new random number, and reset the countdown and reset this move to true. And if instances of enemies, we've run out of bad guys, and this is where we'd say, right, we're moving on to the next level. You want to put some other code here saying maybe something about the next level, but we'll leave that for now. That's the step. Draw. Really simple. This is the draw bit. This is where you want to paint stuff on the screen. So I'm choosing a font. I've defined my fonts here, so I've got like a nice funky large font I've created here. I'm drawing number of lives, I'm drawing the value of the score. Fairly self-explanatory. That's the controller object. Let me go through all the various bits. The object wall, there's no code in it, it's just a solid wall. Triangle, there's no code in the object triangle. Remember, this just is one of the things that we can change shape into. Same for square, same for cross, same for pentagon. Object me, now this is the main object, this is the character UDO. Object wall, what happens if we bump into the wall? Well, we stop moving, basically we set our speed at 0 and stop moving. So we don't bounce off the wall, we stop dead. Object triangle, what do you think happens if I touch the triangle? Well, hopefully we'd change into a triangle. So it says change sprite into triangle. And we change the my shape to reflect that. So notice 2, that number 2 is 1 less than the sides of a triangle. Triangle's got 3 sides, if you remember. This is where your maths is quite important. I did say maths is really important. This is very basic maths. This is like 5-year-old kids maths, but it's still maths. So my shape is 1 less than what the number of sides is. So that's 2 there. So let me show you. Square, x cubed is the code. My shape is 3. Remember, 3 is 1 less than 4, and we change into sprite. Same for cross, same for pentagon. I'm not going to bother showing you that because you should know what that means. Object enemy. If we bump into enemy, now what's the rules? If we're the same shape as them, then they die and we get some score. If we're a different, we die and we lose a life. So let's open this up to show this. So I've got 2 if statements. I've got 1 if statement. If I died, now I died, where's that set? So just give me a second here while I think this out. Enemy. Oh, it's there. I've got a feeling that's how it goes. Right. I'll go back to this in a minute. That's where that says I died. So basically, object me here. Let's close that. Object me. If I bump into enemy, if this variable is set to I died, now that is set this in the enemy. If it touches, if we've got a similar sort of things, is object me there, and that's where that gets set because there's a simultaneous thing. This is what's known as event-driven programming. These 2 functions gets triggered at the same time. This is the enemy one. This one gets triggered. So these 2 bits of code get triggered at the same time. And I'll go through this one. This is from the enemy point of view. I'm using a switch statement. Switch is a complicated if statement. It's like multiple ifs together. So remember what switch is, what my shape is, the shape that the main character you're controlling is. So if I'm a circle, and if sprite 2 is the circle, you know, sprite 2 is the shape of the bad guy, is 0, then killed it is true, and I died is true. Remember, this is that variable here. So that links with this code here, and if it's I died, then I'll just display a little message saying you died, reduces the lives by 1. If your lives go below 1, well, you really are dead, and the game ends. Yeah, and then we've got this crate explosion and get this funky explosion thing, destroys myself, recreates myself, and resets myself so I'm alive again. You got that? So if I died, and I die set there in the other script that's run the same time, then reduce your lives. If lives less than 1, the game ends. If not, you just do a funky explosion, destroy yourself, and recreate yourself at the start. No, I don't want to save it. Let me go to object enemy. Object cross is where we change it to cross. Left, we start moving in the various directions. It's fairly self-explanatory. Object me. No, I don't want to save it. No, I don't want to save that. Object me. So yeah, enemy. So enemies, they just move in a random direction, a speed of 2. step. Basically, I get them not only moving in a random direction, but when they're moving around, I get them to move randomly as well. So I give them this erratic nature, so it's very hard to predict where they're going. I use this function here to create an erratic behavior, start moving towards random points in the map. That's all this is doing here. Have a look at this function, and it will tell you. By the way, there's a contents page here, and it tells you what each of these functions do, and you can just type in the name of the function. For example, move, here we are, towards point, and it tells you what it does. It moves the instance towards a given point at a given speed. X and towards moves to a speed, so moving towards the given point at a given speed. And here, this is how I create it, and it tells you, it gives you a bit of description. This function, blah 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 blah, gives you exactly how it does. So where am I getting all this stuff from? Well, I'm getting it from here, and I put it in there. So this is how you can, this is how you program using GameMaker, using this guide here. If you don't have access to it that way, you can actually go online and just type in GameMaker Studio documents. Let's have a look. GameMaker. You can use this here, and you basically, it tells you how to do stuff. It's basically exactly the same, and you can do your search here, and you do your index here, and you can do all this online. And if this one is not available, you can just literally go on the online docs. So there you are. Anyway, so if the enemy touches the wall, we want them to bounce. If it bumps into me, we do this funky switch statement. Let me spend a bit of time in this switch to explain what is happening, what's appertaining in here. So as I said, I've created this temporary variable here. It's a local variable called code. Edit, it doesn't exist outside this function. We set it to false. Switch my shape means we are going to open up this variable called my shape, and we split it into these various cases. So case 1, 2, because I can be a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I can be a circle, I can be a cross, I can be a triangle, I can be a square, and I can be a pentagon. And that's what each these. And if I'm a circle and they are, which is sprite to a circle, then they die. Killed edit is true. If not, I die. It's as simple as that. And if you notice, that's what's going on down here. Now, if they die, this is that variable, then they destroy themselves. Got our little debug message displaying it. The score goes up by 100, and then we reset it. So basically, they explode, they die, scores goes by 100, and then it goes back to the beginning again. Draw, and then we want to draw what it is. But you notice here I've got a switch and draw, because the enemy can be any shape, can be a circle, a cross, triangle, square, that. And depending if it's not, this is where it translates this. If it's a 0, we destroy a circle. If it's a 1, cross, 2, triangle, 3, square, 4, pentagon. It's that simple. I've shown you the controller. I've shown you next image. Yeah, next image. This is the thing that displays in the middle of the screen. So it sets the font first and displays the variable sprite next +1. So it displays what it's going to be and just puts it where it is. And that's my game. That's my Shapeman game, really. Only thing, I do have some music in it, but I've disabled the music because it gets quite annoying playing it. That is annoying. Shh. So anyway, that is my Shapeman. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you and goodbye.